Good morning and happy Monday. I apologize for not posting the last few days, but I did tell you I had a dental procedure and I was in a lot of pain, so I couldn't really read very well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started, but I just wanted to apologize again for not being on for the last few days. And I'm gonna do my best to probably record the night before, the day before, whenever I do get a free moment. That way I can post on a regular schedule. I want to have this posted by 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every day. So that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do. So um, that's what we're going for. So I am going to go ahead and get started. I believe that we left off on. Oh, were we on chapter 6 or 7? Um, hmm. I don't know. I think we read through chapter 5. All right, so I'm going to start on chapter 6. If it overlaps from last time I read, I apologize. It's a short chapter, so hopefully it's not too bad. Um, Lord, I just thank you for this day. I thank you, Lord, for everything that you've done, everything that you're doing, and everything that you're going to do. I pray, God, that this video touches the person that it need or reaches the person that it needs to reach. Um, Anyone who is just trying to grow closer to you but doesn't seem to be able to find the time to sit and read, that this may be a blessing to them so that they can hear your word as they're going throughout their day, as they're driving to work, getting ready, whatever the case may be, and that you bring them back so they can continue on this journey. And I just thank you for each and every one that reaches this video. And I pray that you bless them, God. Keep them covered in Jesus' name. Thank God and amen. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'm going to read from chapter 6 because I think that's where we left off. And for those that don't know, I know this is inverted for you, but it is the Daily Life Bible. It is the Common English Bible. It's the easiest one to understand, but sometimes I go back and forth and kind of just look at other versions to see what the translations are. So, but this is just the easiest to understand, so that's why I'm going with this one. And I do have copies of this linked in my Amazon storefront. It's a really good Bible to study from too. So, there's that. All right, so chapter 6 of Deuteronomy. Now these are the commandments, the regulations, and the case laws that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you to follow in the land you are entering to possess, so that you will fear the Lord your God by keeping all his regulations and his commandments that I am commanding you, both you and your sons and daughters, all the days of your life, so that you will lengthen your life. Listen to me, Israel. Follow them carefully so that things will go well for you and so that you will continue to multiply exactly as the Lord your ancestors' God promised you, in a land full of milk and honey. Israel, listen. Our God is the Lord, only the Lord. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your being, and all your strength. These words that I am commanding you today must always be on your minds. Recite them to your children. Talk about them when you are sitting around your house and when you are out and about, when you are lying down and when you are getting up. Tie them on your hand as a sign. They should be on your forehead as a symbol. Write them on your house's door frames and on your city's gates. Now, once the Lord your God has brought you into the land that he swore to your ancestors, to Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to you, a land that will be full of large and wonderful towns that you didn't build, houses stocked with all kinds of goods that you didn't stock. Sorry about that. Cisterns that you didn't make, vineyards and olive trees that you didn't plant, and you eat and get stuffed. Watch yourself. Don't forget the Lord, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Revere the Lord your God. Serve him and take your solemn pledges in his name. Don't follow other gods, those gods of the people around you, because the Lord your God, who is with you and among you, is a passionate God. The Lord your God's anger will burn against you, and he will wipe you off the fertile land. Don't test the Lord your God the way you frustrated him in Massah. You must carefully follow the Lord your God's commands along with the laws and regulations he has given you. Do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so that things will go well for you, and so you will enter and take possession of the wonderful land that the Lord swore to your ancestors. And so the Lord will drive out all your enemies from before you, just as he promised. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of the laws, the regulations and the case laws that the Lord of our God commanded you? Tell them, we are Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt. We were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Before our own eyes, the Lord performed great and awesome deeds of power against Egypt, Pharaoh, and his entire dynasty. But the Lord brought us out from there so that he could bring us in, giving us the land that he swore to our ancestors. Then the Lord commanded us to perform all these regulations, revering the Lord our God, so that things go well for us always, and so we continue to live as we're doing right now. What's more, we will be considered righteous if we are careful to do all this commandment before the Lord our God, just as he commanded. Now, once the Lord your God brings you into the land, you are entering to wait. Now, once the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to take possession of, and he drives out numerous nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations that are larger and stronger than you. Once the Lord your God lays them before you, you must strike them down, placing them under the ban. Don't make any covenants with them, and don't be merciful to them. Don't intermarry with them. Don't give your daughter to one of their sons to marry, and don't take one of their daughters to marry your son, because they will turn your child away from following me so that they end up serving other gods. That will make the Lord's anger burn against you, and he will quickly annihilate you. Instead, this is what you must do with these nations: rip down their altars, smash their sacred stones, cut down their sacred poles, and burn their idols, because you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God chose you to be his own treasured people beyond all others on the fertile land. It was not because you were greater than all the other people that the Lord loved. Wait. It was not because you were greater than all other people that the Lord loved you and chose you. That doesn't make sense. Hold on. Am I reading that wrong? It was not because you were greater than all other people that the Lord loved you and chose you. Oh, in fact, you were the smallest of peoples. No, it is because the Lord loved you and because he kept the solemn pledge he swore to your ancestors that the Lord brought you out with a strong hand and saved you from the house of slavery, from the power of Pharaoh, Egypt's king. Know now, then that the Lord your God is the only true God. He is the faithful God who keeps the covenant of proves. Really? He is the faithful God who keeps the covenant and proves loyal to everyone who loves him and keeps his commands, even to the 1,000th generation. He is the God who personally repays anyone who hates him, ultimately destroying that kind of person. The Lord does not waste time with anyone who hates him. He repays them personally. So make sure you carefully keep the commandment, the regulations, and the case laws that I am commanding you right now. If you listen to these case laws, if you listen to these case laws and follow them carefully, the Lord your God will keep the covenant and display the loyalty that he promised your ancestors. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will bless the fruit of your wombs and the fruit of your fertile land, all your grain, your wine, your oil, and the offspring of your cattle and flocks upon the very fertile land that he swore to your ancestors to give to you. You will be more blessed than any other group of people. No one will be sterile or infertile, not among you or your animals. The Lord will remove all sickness from you. As for all those dreadful Egyptian diseases you experienced, the Lord won't put them on the Lord won't put them on you, but will inflict them on all who hate you. You will destroy all the peoples that the Lord your God is handing over to you. Show them no pity. And don't serve their gods, because that would be a trap for you. If you happen to think to yourself, these nations are greater than we are, how can we possibly possess their land? Don't be afraid of them. Remember instead what the Lord your God did to the Pharaoh and all of Egypt. The great trials that you saw with your own eyes, the signs and wonders, and the strong hand and outstretched arm the Lord your God used to rescue you. That's what the Lord your God will do to any people who you fear. The Lord your God will send terror on them until even the survivors and those hiding from you are destroyed. Don't dread these nations, because the Lord your God, the great and awesome God, is with you and among you. The Lord your God will drive out these nations before you bit by bit. You won't be able to finish them off quickly. Otherwise, the wild animals would become too much for you to handle. The Lord your God will lay these nations before you, throwing them into a huge panic until they are destroyed. He will hand their kings over to you, and you will wipe their names out from under the skies. No one will be able to stand before you. You will crush them. Burn the images of their gods. Don't desire the silver or the gold that is on them and take it for yourself, or you will be trapped by it. That is detestable to the Lord your God. Don't bring any detestable thing into your house, or you will be placed under the ban too, just like it is. You must utterly detest these kinds of things, despising them completely, because they are under the ban. You must carefully perform all of the commandment that I am commanding you right now, so that you can live and multiply and enter and take possession of the land that the Lord swore to your ancestors. Remember the long road. Remember the long road on which the Lord your God led you during these 40 years in the desert, so he could humble you, testing you to find out what was in your heart, whether you keep his commandments or not. He humbled you by making you hungry and then feeding you the manna that neither you nor your ancestors had ever experienced, so he could teach you that the people don't live on bread alone. Now they live based on whatever the Lord says. During these 40 years, your clothes didn't wear out and your feet didn't swell up. Know then in your heart that the Lord your God has been disciplining you, just as a father disciplines his children. Keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and by fearing him, because the Lord your God is bringing you to a wonderful land, a land with streams of water, springs, and wells that gush up in the valleys on the hills, a land of wheat and barley, vines, fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat food without any shortage. You won't lack a thing there, a land where stone is hard as iron and where you will mine copper from the hills. You will eat and you will be satisfied, and you will bless the Lord your God in the wonderful land that he's given you. But watch yourself. Don't forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commands or his case laws or his regulations that I am commanding you right now. When you eat, get full, build nice houses, and settle down. And when your herds and your flock are growing large, your silver and gold are multiplying, and everything you have is thriving, don't become arrogant, forgetting the Lord your God, the one who rescued you from Egypt, from the house of slavery, the one who led you through the vast and terrifying desert of poisonous snakes and scorpions, of cracked ground with no water, the one who made water flow for you out of a hard rock, the one who fed you manna in the wilderness, which your ancestors had never experienced in order to humble and test you, but in order to do good to you in the end. Don't think to yourself, my own strength and abilities have produced all this prosperity for me. Remember the Lord your God. He's the one who gives you the strength to be prosperous in order to establish the covenant he made with your ancestors. And that's how things stand right now. But if you do in fact forget the Lord your God and follow other gods, serving and bowing down to them, I swear to you right now that you will be completely destroyed. Just like the nations that the Lord is destroying before you, that's exactly how you will be destroyed. All because you didn't obey the Lord your God's voice. Listen, Israel. Today you will cross the Jordan River, to enter and take possession of nations larger and more powerful than you, along with huge cities with fortifications that reach to the sky. These people are large and tall. They are the Anakim. You know and have heard what people say. Who can stand up to the Anakim? Know right now that the Lord your God, who is crossing over before you, is an all-consuming fire. He will wipe them out. He will subdue them before you. Then you will take possession of their land, eliminating them quickly, exactly as the Lord told you. Once the Lord your God has driven them out before you, don't think to yourself, it's because I'm righteous that the Lord brought me into the wait. It's because I'm righteous that the Lord brought me in to possess this land. It is instead because of these nations' wickedness that the Lord is removing them before you. You aren't entering and taking possession of their land because you are righteous or because your heart is especially virtuous. Rather, it is because these nations are wicked. That's why the Lord your God is removing them before you. And because he wishes to establish the promise he made to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Know then that the Lord your God isn't giving you this excellent land for you to possess on account of your righteousness, because you are a stubborn people. Remember, don't ever forget how you made the Lord your God furious in the wilderness. From the very first day you stepped out of Egypt until you arrived at this place, you have been rebels against the Lord. Even at Horeb, you angered the Lord. He was so enraged by you that he threatened to wipe you out. When I went up to the mountains to get the stone tablets, the covenant tablets that the Lord made with you, I was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread, drank no water. The Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets written by God's finger, and on them were all the words that the Lord had said to you on the mountain, out of the very fire itself, on the day we assembled. At the end of those 40 days and nights, the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets, the covenant tablets. Then the Lord said to me, get going. Get down from here quickly, because your people, whom you brought out of Egypt, have ruined everything. They couldn't wait to turn from the path I commanded them. They've made themselves an idol out of cast metal. The Lord said more to me. I have seen this people. Look, what a stubborn people they are. Now stand back. I'm going to wipe them out. I will erase their name from under heaven. Then I will make a nation out of you, one stronger and larger than they were. So I went down the mountain while it was blazing with fire. The two covenant tablets were in my two hands. It was then that I saw how you sinned against the Lord your God. You made yourselves a calf, an idol made of cast metal. You couldn't wait to turn from the path that the Lord commanded you. I grabbed the two tablets and threw them down with my own hands, shattering them while you watched. Then I fell before the Lord as I had done the previous 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and drank no water, all because of the sin that you had committed by doing such evil in the Lord's sight, infuriating him. I was afraid of the massive anger and rage the Lord had for you. He was going to wipe you out. However, the Lord listened to me again in that moment. But the Lord was furious with Aaron. He was going to wipe him out. So I also prayed hard for Aaron at that time. And as for the sinful thing you made, that calf, I took it and I burned it with fire. Then I smashed it, grinding it thoroughly until it was as fine as dust. Then I dumped the dust into the stream that ran down the mountain. Also at Taberah, again at Massa, and then again at Kibroth Hattava. You have been the kind of people who make the Lord angry. And then when the Lord sent you from the Kadesh Barnea, telling you, "Go up and take possession of the land that I am giving you," you disobeyed the Lord your God's command. You didn't trust him. You didn't obey God's voice. You've been rebellious towards the Lord from the day I met you. But I fell on my knees in the Lord's presence 40 days and 40 nights, lying flat out because the Lord planned on wiping you out. But I prayed to the Lord. I said, "Lord, my Lord, don't destroy your people, your own possession, whom you saved by your own power, whom you brought out of Egypt with a strong hand. Remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Don't focus on this people's stubbornness, wickedness, and sin. Otherwise, that land of which you brought, wait, otherwise, that land out of which you brought us will say, the Lord wasn't strong enough to bring them into the land he'd promised them. Because he didn't care for them in the least, he brought them out to die in the desert. But these are your people, your own possession, the people you brought out by your great power and by your outstretched arm." Let me see how long this is. I'm going to read this last chapter. At that time, the Lord told me, "Carve 2 stone tablets, just like the first ones, and hike up the mountain to me. Construct a wooden chest as well. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, the ones you smashed. Then you will place them in the chest." So I built a chest out of acacia wood and carved 2 stone tablets just like the first ones. Then I hiked up the mountain holding the 2 tablets in my hands. God wrote on the new tablets what had been written on the first set, the 10 commandments that the Lord spoke to you on the mountain, from the very fire itself on the day we assembled there. Then the Lord gave them to me. So I came back down the mountain. I put the tablets in the chest that I'd made, and that's where they are now, exactly as the Lord commanded me. Now the Israelites had set out from Beroth Ben Jaakan to Mosera. It was there that Aaron died and was buried. His son Eleazar succeeded him in the priestly role. From there, the Israelites traveled to Gudgoda, then from Gudgoda to Jotbatha, which is a land with flowing streams. At that time, the Lord selected the tribe of Levi to carry the chest containing the Lord's covenant, to minister before the Lord, to serve him, and to offer blessings in his name. That's the way things are right now. That's why the Levites don't have a stake or inheritance with the rest of their relatives. The Lord is the Levites' inheritance. just as the Lord your God promised them. Just as the first time I remained on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, and the Lord listened to me again in this instance. The Lord wasn't willing to destroy you. Then the Lord told me, "Get going. Lead the people so they can enter and take possession of the land that I promised I'd give to their ancestors." Now, in light of all that, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you? Only this: to revere the Lord your God by walking in all his ways, by loving him, by serving the Lord your God with all your and being heart and being, and by keeping the Lord's commandments and his regulations that I'm commanding you right now. It's for your own good. Clearly, the Lord owns the sky, the highest heavens, the earth, and everything in it. But the Lord adored your ancestors, loving them and choosing the descendants that followed them, you, from all other people. That's how things still stand now. So circumcise your hearts and stop being so stubborn, because the Lord your God is the God of all gods and the Lord of all lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God who doesn't play favorites and doesn't take bribes. He enacts justice for orphans and widows, and he loves immigrants, giving them food and clothing. That means you must also love immigrants because you were immigrants in Egypt. Revere the Lord your God, serve him, cling to him, swear by his name alone. He is your praise and he is your God, the one who performed these great and awesome acts that you witnessed with your very own eyes. Your ancestors went down to Egypt with a total of 70 people, but now look. The Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars in the night sky, in the nighttime sky. All right, and that is where we're going to end. We are now on chapter 11, and I pray that this was a blessing to someone, and I will be doing my very, very best to post by 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every morning. So please join me. And that is it for today. I pray you all have an amazing, blessed day. And until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye, guys.